Hello, hello. I think we have just launched. Yes, confirming. We are live. We are go. Open up that Rocket League.
Rocket League. Okay, wait. Training. Here we go.
It's going to take a second for that to appear on screen. We just spent a lot of time trying to troubleshoot why. Oh, Jesus. I would say so. Um, I spent a while trying to figure out why Rocket League wasn't showing up on my streaming software, and I think the answer was just it takes a second, and I didn't have the patience to wait to figure out why it wasn't working initially. Um,
Turn your close Facebook on your computer.
oh yeah, that's. I was like, why did I hear that? So wait, I don't have Facebook open on my computer. Or do I have a third window? I don't. I do have extra windows I don't know about. Insidiously. Need this window. Okay. All I need is the live stream, goddammit, and I accidentally closed the chat. So let me go reopen that. Are you doing practice mode right now?
Yeah.
Learning how to do the Rocket League? Here we go. Alright. I've got chat. God in his heaven. All is right with the world. Welcome to live stream. It's Rocket League. I played this game for the first time recently at our friends Riley and Mint's house when we were staying there last month, and I thought it was really fun. I figured out. I felt like the controls are weirdly intuitive for the complexity of the shit that the game asks you to do, and like the fact that you feel like, oh man, I actually know how I could have hit that or something. You know, oh, I know if I had just launched a little earlier. Like you very quickly find yourself figuring out how it works and the limitations of the controls and everything, and it just feels really good to play. But yeah, I felt like I was sort of a natural at it when I was playing it, and but Bird has never played it before, so he's going
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Because I asked if you knew how to play Rocket League, and you said no.
I don't.
So I guess from that I took never have played it. Not I just don't remember how. But yeah, I think it's mad fun. I want to get into it deeper. Vizzy is a big fan. Vizier.
Oh. Okay, let's try that again.
He is highly encouraging us to play this more often, and so I was like, yeah, we got to get into the Rocket League.
That's better.
The pirate hat really ties it all together. Agreed.
Thank you. Tutorial complete. Welcome to free play.
Anyway, as always on these live streams, I'll rant about anything anybody wants for $5. So if you super chat me some rant requests, I will get to ranting. Otherwise, this is going to be a pretty chilled out stream. Mostly, I just want to watch you learn how to play Rocket League and see what's going on with everybody. Since I haven't streamed in a little bit, I did the Moe and the Guro show, which was pretty fun, and I will do another one of those probably on Monday in the lead up to doing the Monday Night Grift with Vito, because I've been doing that every week. And that's a fun show. Vito's really good at keeping it topical, keeping the energy high, and I have fun doing it. You've never been this early before to a stream? It's been going for 4 minutes, which for me feels impossibly long. Like in terms of joining a stream, it's like, wow, the stream just started. For me, it's like, man, have I really said anything in 4 minutes? But I'm always thinking about it like I'm watching a video. And mostly these live streams, I'm just unlisting and stuffing in a playlist. Because I plan to stream a lot, and I don't want to clutter the channel with streams, but I want them to be accessible because people do watch them back and enjoy them. So, of course, there's a live stream VOD playlist as well as the every YouTube video featuring the Golden Witch playlist here on the channel. You might be watching this through one of those already if you're seeing this not live.
Boo, I'm not good at this.
You just got to get good.
I guess I do, yeah.
It's just soccer, but you're a car.
Yeah, it is that.
So you just got to think about the angle of your approach and be like, oh, in the speed. So if you like jump and flip at the ball, then it's like you're kind of punching it instead of there's like a forward flip motion you can do. So just like if you're just holding forward and flip at the ball, then yeah, you're very likely to just knock it straight in the direction you're trying to go.
Okay. Still didn't make it in, but I think I get what you're doing.
Yeah. Your car seems really heavy.
You're really hit. Wait, does that actually factor into this?
I think so, yeah. I think
Dang.
your car has a weight and stuff. Like.
Oh, shoot. Oh, man. I haven't made any of these.
You'll figure it out. I believe. That one looks really easy.
It does.
Just tap that shit in. You don't even gotta flip at it. You can just bonk. Nice.
Bonk. Did you play Team Fortress 2?
Andrew Engelman says, not really, no. Or actually, never, no. I mean to say. There was something I was thinking about getting a rant for, but I don't know if I should get it now or wait until more people are listening. So it's a message you want to spread. I'll tell you right now. Way more people hear the VOD than hear these live. Like, the videos... These live stream recordings, rather, at minimum get like 1,500 views. And they usually are only streaming to like 50 people at the most, at the height, if the stream is actually kind of popping off. So, like, yeah, way more people are watching these back just to hear the rants than are actively watching the live streams. So I guarantee you, no matter how many people are here, your rant will be heard by way more people afterwards. Shibbity Dibbity said, do you feel like you'll have much to say about Madoka if that gets voted for Anime Alphabet? It's already Gundam. Gundam won. Gundam is the winner. Madoka was a red herring. I was never going to do Madoka. It was
Why?
just... So, okay. If the voting had been really overwhelmingly in favor of Madoka, I would have done it. But because it's only 12 episodes, and that would have been very easy. But I've already talked about the show. I don't think I have anything new to say. It's been talked about to fucking death. Like, there really is a ton of good analysis videos about Madoka from people who care about the show more than I do. And you could say there's a lot of shows about Gundam, but I am just personally invested in watching the original show and doing a review of it, you know, like an analytical, like, rundown of the show. So, like, I'm way more invested in the idea of doing Gundam than Madoka. It was really a contest between Monster and Gundam. The point was just to see which one would be a blowout victory over the other. Because I thought Monster would win the poll. I just thought, like, yeah, well, I don't know. It's the most, like, beloved show that I haven't talked about. But most people, their stance was that the logic of this show should be that it's about influential classics. So they want to hear me talk about the most influential classic of the bunch, that being Gundam, which did win the poll on Twitter, I should also add. I polled on multiple places. So Gundam beat Madoka on Twitter. Madoka won on YouTube, but not by such a wide margin that it made me feel compelled that I have to do Madoka. You know, if it had been like a 70% blowout, that would have been a different story. And the argument can also be, like, I put Future Boy Conan in there just to see if that would take votes away from Gundam, and it really didn't. If anything, it seems like Monster and Gundam were competing with each other for votes. And, Madoka's probably mostly being voted on by people who've never heard of the other three shows at all. So, like, I'm less interested in catering to that. Again, the way I handle social media can be very strange because my intentions can be different from what I'm projecting. Like, a lot of the time I'm just trying to gather information and figure out how people feel about something, more so than, like, running a contest. Like... it's all about figuring out, like, just what my audience's opinions are, basically, what they care about, what they're interested in. I already knew they were interested in Madoka, so it was like, you know, it didn't need to be on the poll except to offset, like, to see how much people wanted a Gundam or a monster video more than that, you know. Yeah, Shivity Dibbity says, I kind of got the feeling you weren't going to do Madoka, which is why I asked. Yeah. It's, there were some people who were, like, concerned. Like, there were comments that were like, please don't do Madoka. Like, I don't care which of the other three, just don't do Madoka, because it's been so covered to death, you know. That was kind of the mistake I made with doing Full Metal Alchemist, was like...
Full Metal Alchemist.
The mentality I had was like, well, I hadn't seen some super long FMA video yet. I hadn't realized that there's, like, literally whole fucking channels dedicated just to analyzing FMA in super depth, and if I had realized that before I chose it, I probably wouldn't have. I would have picked Fushigi Yugi, and, like, the FMA video is, like, the most popular anime, most beloved anime of all time, least popular anime alphabet episode, other than, I think, Digimon, which is another one that I picked, like, mostly on the basis I thought it was a super popular show. But, like, I just don't know that, like, if it's just my audience, or if it's that they don't regard those shows the same way, or if it's just that they've been talked about enough that there's, like, too many other long-form videos about them. And clearly my audience hasn't seen enough Gundam videos, because they're all... That didn't have the same level of, oh no, please no, as Madoka did from certain people. Have I seen Magia Record? Wasn't that... Oh, yeah, no, I only saw the first episode. Oh, no, it's the car game. The car game is really fun.
It is the car game. I'm
car
not
soccer.
good at the car game.
What are you having trouble with, would you say? What's confusing or difficult to you about it?
Just the physics of it.
The physics are really what gelled with me somehow, like, right away. Where it's like, I'm always just thinking, like, okay, I just gotta... It's all about your angle of approach, really. It's about, like, micromanaging the way that you hit the ball. To be sure that you hit it exactly right, you know?
Hang on, I'm gonna change my car. Because maybe it's too heavy.
I do think your car seems... It seems like it's not... It doesn't manage as well as I remember. I don't actually know if these... Because it doesn't say anything. There's no stats here, so it seems weird to think that it would affect it. I could literally just be projecting. I think they're probably the same. Well, no. What does it mean by legacy body, or what?
They all say that.
They all say that.
It just means I don't have any cool cars.
Well,
sure, we'll do that one and see what happens.
I think people are sick of Madoka videos because it isn't that interesting. It's a skin deep anime. I think it's as interesting as anything else. I really don't think anything's that fucking deep. But, like, the cultural impact of Madoka is what's interesting. Like, it's not that the show itself is mega interesting. It's that it was such a big deal, has remained such a big deal, has been so influential. But, again, it's kind of like all that just happened. So, like, I just think people... It's not a mystery why Madoka is important. People know that. There's a lot of people who haven't seen Gundam and are really just waiting for someone to, like... you know, explain it to them in a way that either they're going to want to watch it or they're going to feel satisfied that they got enough of the Gundam experience that they, you know, can say they've heard of it and you know, and like not feel overwhelmed when someone mentions Gundam. I started writing a script for it, like just writing the intro and talking about how, like, I really think when a lot of people hear the phrase Mobile Suit Gundam, like, even if you know a little bit about it, you feel this deep concern, like, oh, there's no way I know enough to have this conversation. Like, whoever's about to ask me about Gundam, I probably don't know enough about Gundam, you know, unless I'm quite confident I know enough about Gundam. But I just want to make it less foreboding to people by just talking about how good the original show is. And just like, yeah, this thing, like, it's not a huge mystery or crazy thing you got to learn all this shit about. It's just a good show you can watch, you know.
Damn, bad angle. I can be your angle or your devil.
I can definitely agree that Madoka is a show that I think holds up less under scrutiny than it does under the initial viewing, where it has a lot of like a shock value, an impact. It's a trick that doesn't necessarily work twice. It has its impact, and then you.
It's just like a grim magical girl show, right?
Yeah. But it's mainly that it was marketed to be a regular magical girl show. And so when it became extremely grim all of a sudden, then it was like, haha, gotcha,
But didn't everyone think that was going to happen anyway?
A lot of people thought it might, but they were really going out of their way to say it wasn't going. Like no, guys, we're really just trying to make a normal magical girl show. And then, it finally happened, and they're like, okay, we lied. And it was like, god damn it. Hey, we got a $10 super chat from Andy Liu. Domo arigato gozaimasu. I find it funny you didn't continue mini-series you said you like Log Horizon, but the only series I saw you finished is Ass Force Sucks. Is it in creative work that vitriol is a better fuel than passion? Honestly, a lot of it is really just audience reaction and where I'm at mentally at the time, and how much I think the project ends up being worth it. So with the Asterisk War Sucks series, that one, I didn't even start editing video on that until I'd already written 8 parts. I wrote 8 parts of it, and then I sent all that to Devu, and was like, I think I edited parts 1 and 4, while Devu edited 2 and 3, or something like that, and I might have done 8 or something, but yeah, most of it was edited by Devu, but I have always been somebody who shifts gears a lot, and especially if something just isn't working, then I immediately give up on it, because I think, well, oh shit, this didn't have the impact I thought it would, so let's try the next thing. And so, a lot of the times, if I start a series and then just, it doesn't get the reaction that I need it to have gotten for me to be able to continue it, then I move on to a different thing. That would be the reason, I haven't continued the Elden Ring series. It's just, it got so few views that it was just not worth the time investment, and I still want to finish that. Log Horizon I also have every intention to finish, and it helps that the series has continued to stay relevant, where when I was working on that, it didn't immediately get a ton of views. Some of the parts have decent views now, but it wasn't getting a ton of views. I think I was having difficulty with my channel. When I made part 4, then my channel got taken down from copyright strikes right around then. So I had to upload part 4 to the After Dark channel, and then I ended up using a really, basically around then I switched gears to try to focus more on vlog content that wouldn't be as likely to get taken down, and that was when I started doing the, those videos where it was what's the Anthony Fantano series that I was parodying? Let's Argue. Yeah. I was doing the anime Let's Argue for a little bit, and that was another thing where those videos where they were easy to make, but they didn't get that many views compared to other stuff I was, compared to what my target was at the time. And so it was kind of worth doing for a while to fill gaps in the content. But then, eventually I moved past it. It's always just a question of, is this thing working? And sometimes the thing only will work if it is done all the way. And I understand that too, which is why with Anime Alphabet, I don't expect that series to really take off until the first round is done. Because the Asterisk War Sucks videos also, they were successful initially, but they massively ramped up when they were done. As soon as the last part came out, every single part got way the hell more views, and my Patreon jumped explosively because people saw that I had actually completed the project, And I've had other big projects that I promised or started on or did halfway through, but again, because they weren't getting the results I wanted, or in the case of Log Horizon, I had rewatched the show not intending to write about it, but got inspired to write about it. And so I had to rewatch it again immediately after that, but I really didn't want to do that. absent of my partner, because at the time I was really trying to watch everything with my partner, and we had just watched the whole show together, so I was like, I don't want to have to rewatch it again. It was dumb reasoning, and like I should have finished that series when I, at the time. Also, part of it was that I didn't know if there was going to be a season 3, because right around then was when like Mamare Tono was like in prison for tax fraud. So
that's cool of him.
Yeah, the Log Horizon author, massive libertarian by way of, like, if you read his books, they're all about those types of theming, so it wasn't too surprising to me that he, of all people, is the one who'd get in trouble for dodging taxes on a huge scale. But yeah, Log Horizon did eventually get continued, and so, there's more benefit to me now to continue the series, and I do want to. I think I rewatched the videos I did on it, and I thought they were all very good. So yeah, it really is about like where I'm at, how successful it is, like, I don't think Vitriol is more compelling than being in, like, I obviously nowadays, even back then, I've always made more videos about stuff I like. I want to make videos about stuff I like because I want to understand stuff I like. Understanding stuff you don't like is also helpful to help you avoid making mistakes as a writer, but it doesn't teach you how to write well. It only teaches you how to not write badly. And so, to me, it's more interesting to analyze something that's done well, because then you can actually find techniques you can steal and use for yourself. And since a lot of my audience is writers and storytellers, people who are, trying to analyze media so they can replicate it, I think it's more important to talk about good stuff. But I think that's less appealing to general audiences. I think general audiences want a comedy video, and it's easier to write a comedy video about how much something sucks than about how much something rules, Andrew Engelman with $5. Domo arigato gozaimasu says, I listened to the first 4 Sucker Punch raps, and I'm wondering about your thought process is on writing your verses and how it compares to other writing. Wow, I'm so glad you asked about Sucker Punch. That is the hip-hop supergroup that I'm a part of, with Vizier, Mint Salad, Cranberry Dave as the leader, Bat Eater. Bird is a corollary. What was that?
Dyron.
I was about to say him. I haven't listed everybody yet. Dyron Miller, and that's the whole group. But
he's my favorite.
He is the best rapper in the group, I think. Having hung out with him in person and heard his ridiculous freestyle ability, he can just start barring and not stop, not to say that I think I can't do that. I just can't do it on the level that Dyron can. But my writing process, so those 4 songs in particular, Sucker Punch is a very deliberate and like directed group. Like, we're trying to make songs with like a purpose where like we understand what we're like, we're all kind of on message and like delivering on this same idea together, so like usually each song begins with one of us having a core idea, like a lyric or something, or concept, or even just the beat and the way it sounds, and everyone else kind of builds off of that with whatever they're inspired by in that topic. So for instance, AFK began with Vizier writing the hook, internet shit don't mean a thing, where we operate, you could get a ring on your finger, or a banger that lingers, or a lifetime away, or a lifetime of pain. I did those 2 lyrics backwards, sorry, Vizzy. But anyway, you should definitely listen to the song. AFK is one of my favorites that we've done. But like, I listened to that, and I wrote about my internet experience, and then Dyron listened to it, with my verse on there, and wrote about his internet experience. And so, it became this collection of all of our thoughts on this subject of like basically the negative aspects of being online, and the positivity that we found in going AFK and making real life connections, such as the ones that we have with each other as people who've all met AFK and developed these connections beyond the internet. So, it's super conceptual. The song "Where Is Your Head" is about all the division, and especially on racial lines that's happened in our country, and on lines of prejudice. The blue and the red ploy, as Vizzy describes it, which can break down as all kinds of different little blue and red dichotomies that exist in our society. But, you know, I chose to focus on my own ancestry and, like, the troubling things that I've seen, you know, like, and like the disconnect I have from my ancestry, and like why the people that I consider family is like, you know, my crew and people who I can work with, because I don't have, like, beyond my immediate family, this very, like, a strong connection to, you know, my any sort of generational history. And you know, so like for me, hip hop is like a found family rather than something I was born into. And that's, you know, that's thematically where my contribution to that song comes from, you know. And again, like, Dairon has his own bit, his own message that he's, you know, that I don't want to try to speak on for him or anything, but his lyrics are also fantastic. Helps that all of us say deep shit in our lyrics, so like all of our bars manage to come together and like really, you know, have that cohesion. The other two tracks on the album are Light Gold and Pen Only, which both of those began as Vizier hooks as well. Both of those were originally just Vizier songs that had existed for a while. Like, Pen Only was already out. There were test versions of Light Gold that already existed where it was just Vizzy's verses. And so that was one where, like, you know, we were like, okay, well, now that we're doing this group thing, let's restructure these songs and get everybody on them. So, you know, I just basically tried to match the energy of what I thought Vizzy had brought. On Pen Only, I was like, this is the ultimate, I'm just going to fuck up your whole life song. So I was like, you know, that's the energy I brought, was I'll lick your fucking eyes out and shit on your brain, bitch. Like, that's the craziest sounding thing that I could say that I would do to somebody. And then Light Gold is, well, I'm light gold, I light gold, when I swing I strike gold. You know, like that one bar summarizes my verse on there pretty well. So yeah, thank you again for asking about my music. I'm always happy about it. I didn't realize Bird was a part of Sucker Punch. Bird is not technically a full member of Sucker Punch as of yet, but I think we are hoping we can make him into one by teaching him more about the ways of hip-hop. But he's associated, especially because we're doing kind of a Teen Titans theme right now, and he makes a really good Aqualad. So, you know, I'm Raven. If anybody doesn't know about Sucker Punch, if you haven't seen the EP, we've all got this amazing art from Mint Salad as Teen Titans characters. So she's Starfire, I'm Raven. You know, so everybody who's on this EP is on the cover of it. So we've got members who are, you know, who are connected, who haven't been added to the roster yet, but everybody's got a Teen Titan character picked out. God dang it. Languid Landscape Lab with $5 says, rant about the main cast of Arcane: Vi, Jinx, Caitlyn, Jace, Victor, Silco, Mel. Since your video was sorta an overall overview, I will try to remember everybody. And how I feel. I mean,
say
Vi.
The names I can remember.
Well, we'll do them one by one. So, we're starting with Vi. I am big time lesbian for Vi. She's got just.
She's hot.
She's really hot, and she's got a really cool attitude. Like, what I look for in women is being like really just sort of rough and masculine, for lack of a better word, and Vi, you know, she kicks ass. She doesn't take shit. She's surly. She, you know, drinks and gets into fights and is just kind of generally a badass. So yeah, big time homo for Vi. And then Jinx is more of the I wish I was her. I kind of said both of these things in the video, I feel like, but you know, but that was my biggest response to these characters. Was like, Vi was like, wow, I would really want to be friends with her. I would really want to, you know, I would love to have her as a boyfriend. I mean, girlfriend. Jinx, on the other hand, is like, you know, obviously she's bad. She's a bad guy. You don't actually want to be her. You don't want to go through what she's gone through. But it's like the sexiest version of being a person like me. You know, like the sexiest version of being like troubled and anorexic, therefore suggesting you have body image issues, you know, is a Vi, or rather a Jinx type, and she's just a fucking blast to watch. Like, she's manic, she's out of control. The show does a really good job of portraying her, like, breaks from reality and everything. So, yeah.
Snap back to reality.
Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke, he's so mad, but he won't give up daddy. He know it's all back to these ropes. Don't matter, Don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. Anyway, Caitlyn, I think that's the girl who ends up dating Vi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that development. So, like, early on, she's hanging out with Jace. That's the guy, right? I liked the way that both of them developed, where it starts off like Jace is just the baby face. He is the good guy. He kind of can do no wrong at first. But he starts getting arrogant, and he starts, like, he has a really believable relationship with that other girl whose name I don't remember. And I don't think you asked. Silco and Mel. Is Mel that girl? Who is Mel? Is Mel the girl that Jace dates? Do you remember? I don't remember. Anyway, I liked the way that all of that developed, where it's like, he had this girl who was kind of into him, but they never really went anywhere in, like, the years that they were together. And it's kind of like, because of the fact that Caitlyn, like, was admiring and respecting these other people and trying to be like them, it's just kind of like their paths were diverging in life. And you see that right before Jace ends up developing this totally other relationship that also makes sense, but leads him into just not anymore being the type of person who would be around Caitlyn, or that their relationship would make sense anymore. And so for her to then develop this totally other relationship with Vi, because she also fills that role of, like, somebody she innately kind of has to respect for being way more of a hard ass than she is. Like, somebody who's trying to be a hard ass. Like, her goal in life is be a big hard ass. And then she meets someone who makes her feel like a fucking pansy. Like, and that's what I think made that relationship work so well. And, as Vi develops this begrudging kind of respect for how hard Caitlyn is trying to actually meet her level, she starts to like her. It's cute. It's a good relationship. And then, of course, Jace, like, developing into someone who just out of ignorance and only really thinking about his own goal and not really considering that, like, obviously the people of the Undercity are, like, also people and also have their own concerns that he just doesn't understand at all. Good commentary on privilege, I thought. Silco is a great villain. He's just a groomer, basically. He's a hyper manipulative. He's a type of person who, like, other than the fact, it's like if his line was in a slightly different place, he wouldn't seem like the villain. Like, if he drew the line on his behavior where the guy who was like a father to Vi and Caitlyn did, it's like their line is just slightly different on what they think is acceptable, but it leads to extremely different results. And so it's like there's a world where this guy could have been the good guy, but because he's kind of a creepy, manipulative fuck who takes advantage of weak people and and puts them under his control, he's also kind of the bad guy, and so and particularly his relationship with Jinx, I think reveals him as an irresponsible, poor parent, who is the result being the way Jinx is now, that she would not have been had she continued to be around Vi and her original father figure. I don't remember who Mel is, but yeah, that's my feelings about the characters that you mentioned. I thought the blue and the red was talking about political parties. I mean, that is one of the blue and red dichotomies, but you also got to think about Bloods and Crips, because this is a hip-hop song.
Or red versus blue.
Yeah, the animated series. Like, just the blue and the red ploy can mean different things to different people, but it certainly does mean any and all of those ones are what are meant by the song, which is why it is not more specific than that. At least that's my interpretation. Again, I don't want to put words into Vizzy's mouth. Maybe Vizzy actually did very specifically mean one or the other, but usually lyrics that are vague like that are trying to say, like, no, yeah, all the blue and red ploys. Like, the Teen Titans theming was for the whole EP. The whole telegraphing, or I guess this whole era that we're in of Sucker Punch. Just reading through the discussion of Christ stories in the chat and whether or not they are coming of age stories.
Okay.
How did y'all get so far down this rabbit hole of this discussion? I'm impressed. Well, anyway, reminder that everything I was just talking about, that was all rants that I was paid to go on. People gave me money and I talked about things they wanted me to talk about. And it was nice. It was a great time. And it's going to continue to be a great time as it keeps on happening while I watch Bird learn how to play Rocket League. It looks like you're playing actual matches now.
Yeah, I'm playing special mode.
Oh, yeah, don't run into people. It makes you blow up.
You can, like, stick the
Do
ball.
you like chicken tenders? I'm unsubbing if you say no. Of course I like
love
chicken
Raising
tenders.
Cane's. Raising Cane's is the best restaurant.
Girl, I have no idea how we got this far, but I'm having fun. That's good. I always want everyone to be having fun around me. I am where the... What's the lyric I have? Hold on. I'm at the fun because the world is boring where I'm not. It's just so boring where I'm not. That's from It's What You Do, You Do, off of Hurricane Season. Which is like, I don't know if it was released as Vizier and the Golden Witch, but it was also produced by Cranberry Dave, so it's kind of like a forerunner to Sucker Punch. I don't think it's technically a Sucker Punch.
Did you say
album,
forerunner?
Though. Yeah.
I love that car. Shit.
Have you ever met a girl who unironically called herself a tomboy? Yeah, plenty. Plenty. I don't even think that's actually that uncommon. But then again, that's the kind of people I hang out with, so, you know, could just be a consequence of me being me. But, my mom was definitely somebody who did not want to be called a tomboy. She's like the type who's like, I don't want, like, even though she's a very surly type of person, it was very important to her that she not be considered one of the guys, because she's, you know, sensitive and doesn't want to have to, like, deal with all the, like, over-the-top bro macho bullshit that, you know, dudes tend to get up to. And that's, I definitely think that like, a part of why, you know, I feel the need to, like, openly identify as a woman is similar to that, like, guys are, like, almost innately all, like, in competition with each other, or at least want to be, you know? And it's like, I'm not competing with guys. I'm not even really competing with girls, but I'm certainly not competing with guys, you know? Like, anyway. No, I thought I had another super chat, but I guess that was just me seeing some other flash of light on the screen that looked like a orange... looked like one of them orange thingies that pops up. Oh, I do now. Drain dies with $2. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Dropping in to send you a couple bucks. Keep being you. I can't stop. So, you know, I'm going to do it forever. I'll just do it better and better every time is the goal. It looks like your team is dominating right now. It looks like you guys are just fucking destroying them. Why do you all have spikes, by the way, and they
That's
don't?
the special game mode. The
I
ball
see.
sticks
Oh, they
to
do
you.
have spikes. Okay.
Yeah, the ball
Neat.
sticks to you, and if you touch an enemy...
This does seem like kind of a learning mode in a way. It's definitely more simple than having to constantly monitor the trajectory of where you're fucking... the ballistics of it, rather. It's more about ramming people and making them explode. But yeah, like you know, I feel like yeah, whatever. I fucking got lost in a thought, and I thought I could turn it into words, but I didn't figure out what words they were. How are you enjoying the Rocket League so far?
You know, it's all right.
Seems like you're having a little more fun now that your team is absolutely fucking destroying and you're leveling up like twice at once. But that does mean it'll get harder. Like, the more you level up, the harder your opponents get. They're like, in the 2 hours that I played with Vizzy at his house, then I think I got like right up to the level of meeting my own skill, where it was like I was just destroying for a little while, and then we got to like level 10, and it was like, all right, now it's serious, you know. Now they know what you're doing, and they're trying to do the same thing.
Rocket League. Now it's time for a regular game. Whoa, a super shay.
Hey, Andrew Engelman with $5. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Your villains, Aixiert and Leaden Warlock, join forces to steal Bird. What training do you do? Who do you recruit? And what happens in the retrieval arc?
Who?
So, Aixiert and Leaden Warlock have kidnapped you.
Who are those
I
people,
don't think
dear?
they're real people. I think they're just villains that Andrew Engelman made up who joined forces to steal Bird.
Are you sure you didn't make them up?
I've never heard of Aixiert or Leaden Warlock, so unless something's been misattributed to me, I don't think they're intended to be my characters. Who do I recruit? What happens in the retrieval arc? Okay. Do I have to pick real people? That's what I'm like. So if I can pick like anime characters, I'm just gonna pick the most badass anime characters. Okay, The Rock. I'm gonna get Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And who's gonna be my spy? Like my ruthless agent. I can't think of anybody other than Scarlett Johansson, even though I know she's not actually a spy. She's just Black Widow, but she plays a spy really well. Anyway, I'm going to find some kind of super spy. Basically, I'll just keep screaming into my phone that whatever CIA agent listens to me needs to come help with Bird, or else I don't know. I have nothing to threaten them with, but Bird is important to national security. He's the greatest American. There we go. I'll say the greatest American is in danger. If you don't help me save the greatest American, how can you really call yourself a CIA operative? And so I'll say that into my phone. So the CIA op who tails me will join my cause, or FBI, whatever it is. Whatever operative keeps up with what I'm up to. You know, I'm gonna have them.
Do you think we have the same one?
No. Well, I don't know. They might work together. Trade
That'd be
notes.
cute. You think they date?
That would be great. Anyway, yeah, whatever operative tracks my actions, I'm gonna call on them and The Rock. I'm gonna say, Rock, it's about drive, it's about power. They took the greatest American.
We stay hungry, we devour.
If you want to be president one day, you gotta help me rescue the other president of the future, Bird, so that he can be your vice president.
I don't. No.
We're gonna run on a platform of The Rock saved your life, and so he's, he's teaming up with the greatest American to run a presidency. You'll be president next, because that's how it works now after Biden. Anyway, so that's my team. How are we going to go about it? The Rock is going to smash heads. And the CIA agent is going to find the heads to smash. And I am going to offer strong encouragement along the way of why they need to rescue the greatest American, Bird Stork. How do you feel about this plan? Do you think this will work out?
I hope so. You know, I am the greatest American after all.
Yeah. Who would kidnap the greatest American?
Someone not good.
Someone who other Americans would be opposed to, because there's nothing more American than protecting the greatest American. Just
Amen.
straight up. If Captain America was here, he'd be like, yo, any decision you make that's not protecting
I
Bird
thought
Stork,
my ass was America's ass,
is
but
not
actually
very
it's
American.
Bird Stork's ass. That's
Yeah.
what Captain America would say if he was here
Exactly.
right now.
Exactly. Aikert is Trixie spelled backwards, and Lead Warlock is the opposite of Gold Witch. Incredible.
Why is lead the opposite of
Lead
gold?
into gold. Alchemy.
Well, I mean, alchemy is about turning a lot of different things into gold.
Yeah, but they always say it's about turning lead into gold. Because
Yeah.
lead is like black, I guess, right? Or dark,
What?
gray.
It's heavy. It's poisonous.
It's a dark metal, whereas gold is a bright metal. You know. I think that's the idea. Yeah, and it's also poisonous. It probably wasn't considered that useful for a long time. You know. They probably didn't have as many purposes for it as we have. I think we have. I don't know what we use lead for actually anymore than paint. Is that still in paint?
No, it killed people. It caused serial killers. Gosh, real Rocket League is harder.
Connor Aronoff said, "Whoever is against America, so most of the world." Lol.
Well, hey, you know,
Yeah, but they're not in America. Most of the people in America
are against America.
Well, they're against the parts of America they don't like, but they're usually pro their own conception of America. And I'm here to tell you that whatever your conception of America is, Bird Stork represents it.
Whatever, just any one of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
With a few exceptions that can be hashed out individually. Like, if you think you might be an exception to that rule, you know, you can ask Bird Stork, hey, do you support this platform? And if your platform is heinously awful and no one else would have it, then probably the answer will be no. But
Probably. I'm not saying outright no.
But we don't know what is context always matters, you know.
You just said it was a terrible thing.
Okay, fine.
You
Yeah.
said it was like something no one else would do.
Fine. It's like certainly will be a problem. We'll say. I just I don't like to speak in absolutes. Only the Sith do that.
I like the Sith. They're fun.
Connor Aronoff says Bird Stork is my America. I agree.
I
Because
am
Bird
a
Stork is everyone's
real
American. Unless they are awful.
No, blue one. Blue one. Justice for Act-Man?
I don't know who that is.
I like Ant-Man.
Maybe it was maybe it was another player? No. Now I've got I Am a Real American stuck in my head. I am a real American.
Fight for the rights of every man. Oh gosh, we're here again already.
I can't tell on this stream specifically if my humor has been edgy or wholesome. I'm at a point in life I'm really trying to figure out like how much edge is considered edgy, you know? Cuz like historically I just accepted myself as edgy and just did whatever and was like, yeah, whatever. It happens to be edgy. And now I'm really like, I don't want to be edgy. I don't want people to think I'm a fucking edgelord. But I don't know how much I can help it, you know? Like, I don't know if just the way I speak is naturally edgy just because I swear a lot. I find swearing wholesome, and I know a lot of people do. Like, there's a lot of people... Like, I am way more likely to be endeared to somebody if they swear a lot when they talk to me. Like, if I meet someone for the first time and they can't stop saying fuck, I'm like, all right, I kind of trust this person. Because I feel like they're paralyzingly honest. You know, like you're so honest to yourself that you can't even pretend you don't, like, that all your thoughts aren't swear words, you know? So that, like, is trustworthy to me, but I also understand that there's lots of people who feel the opposite. But lots of the people who feel the opposite are people I don't trust, you know, who I do think are trying to hide something, who are, like, you know, putting on a holier than thou sedity persona so that they can get away with whatever they're secretly doing, you know, whereas people who are just swearing all the time are fucking out in the open. It's like, yeah, okay, I get what you're about. But I don't know how, I don't know how I come off, especially to the present audience. So let me know. Do you think I'm edgy? Do you think this seems like an edgy stream? Do you find it wholesome or comforting in spite of or because of finding it edgy? Is anyone actually paying attention to what I'm saying, or are they just having a conversation in the chat about totally other things? It's understandable.
Yes,
I'll
dear.
take the watch hours. I don't care why you're here.
Yes, dear.
No, there's just like a totally other conversation happening. So.
Of course there is. Is it still about Jesus?
No, they're talking about the definition of a woman being different for everybody.
Oh.
And how do I get access to your removed content? I mean, most of it's been uploaded on archive sites, but I'd really rather you didn't. Like, anything that's not... Most of my content is up on this channel. Almost everything I ever made is still available. The stuff that's not is stuff I don't want you to watch. I'm not saying you can't find it, but, like, it's not up because I don't stand by it. I'm not connected to it. I don't want you to think that I made it, basically. So, you know, I was very nice to let people archive all my content. I wish I hadn't handled it that way. I wish I had just taken down the things I wanted to take down, left everything else up, and, you know, but it took me a long time to figure out what I did want to have up and down. And, you know. It's a tough question because I'm much more wholesome than I was in the past. Yeah, and, like, but the funny thing about it to me is, like, not much has changed about who I actually am or what I do. It's just what I say and how I say it. You know, like, I've just never been edgy in real life. Like, I've always talked about edgy subject matter and, like, wanted to, basically I was always interested in thought experiment. But I also have come to understand now that I think it's the fact that I was so distant from all that edgy stuff that I was able to talk about it that way. That, like, when you've actually experienced fucked up things, you don't talk about them the same way that you talk about shit you haven't experienced that you just think is funny or just think is interesting as a thought experiment, you know? And sometimes there are thoughts that, you know, are haunting or might make you like, oh, I take this thought seriously. But, like, you know, there's just lots of stuff that I feel like I was glib about that other people take way more seriously than I do. And I just didn't understand why, because I hadn't been through that shit, you know, and I didn't have, like, the empathy to consider what it might mean to someone if I say this kind of stuff. And my stance was always like, oh, well, if they don't like it, then they can fucking leave. And it's like, well, you know, you can only say that so many times before everyone fucking leaves. And then you're like, wow, I really fucked up. But in particular for me, I feel like I fucked up by being so edgy when I'm so not edgy. Like, it's crazy to think that, like, you know, that I could be perceived that way. But I understand why, because I said lots of edgy shit, you know. But I guess I just always had the mentality like, oh, you can say whatever you want. It's only what you do that matters. But, like, when you say whatever you want, then it makes it seem like you want to do all those things, you know? So, like, I want to be very clear about my intentions with people and just be like, no, let me just tell you what I actually think and what I actually am, which is like the least edgy person in the fucking world because all I do is watch cartoons and talk about them on the internet. That's pretty much my whole existence. It's just the way I talk about them that makes it seem so edgy, you know.
I made a score in my first time.
Amazing. Well done. Congratulations.
I just kind
I
of
am happy to see
accidentally made it in. I'll be goalie.
Trixie, I had some old war veteran coaches that would say very similar things. Yeah, I mean, I also like take the effect that I've had on people extremely seriously, and that's a big part of why I feel so so much need to change is that like the closer I've been to people, the more, you know, like my behavior has affected them. And so like when I look at anybody who like I really cared about and something I said or did really hurt them, then I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had not been somebody who thought I could do that, you know. Blink and you'll miss it with $10. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Rant about the January 6th hearing. I hope you watched it. I did not. Hearing?
Yeah. There's a hearing going on.
Like, what does that mean? What
in
is
Congress? There's a hearing about the what's the word? Oh, the insurrection.
But what does it mean
What
for
do
there
you
to be a
mean?
hearing? Like, who is hearing what about?
The Congress is hearing stuff about what happened that day. They're sharing the evidence or something.
Evidence that it happened, or
Well, like what happened, how serious it is, that
Okay.
we should all be concerned
so it's just like a
about it.
conversation about this thing that happened
Yeah,
a year and a
and,
half
like,
ago.
how
Wait, was that
seri-
this year or last
That was
year?
last year.
Okay, right, that was last year, right?
Yeah.
That's so long ago. I've like given this subject zero thought ever. I couldn't give less of a fuck in the whole world. I hope
think-
that's not an
I
edgy
think-
opinion, but
I think it should.
I hope that's the opposite
Hey,
of an edgy
hey,
opinion.
I think that they shouldn't have done that.
That
but
yeah, no, they
there
should
were
not have
some
done
really
that. That's a
funny
very reasonable
pictures.
position that we can all agree on, right? No one should have done that incredibly dumb thing that happened. Oh boy, yeah, no, it's
The guy who stole Nancy Pelosi's podium was dumb enough to sell it on eBay. I thought that was funny.
a bunch of idiots did something really dumb, and now they're getting hammered for it the way they deserve forever,
hey.
and I just don't care. Like
The shaman guy, he seems all right. I hope he's okay. There were a lot of stories of him like being sad.
if it was an insurrection, it certainly failed. That's all I can say on it. Really, is like, well, it I haven't seen any effects of this thing having happened. You know, I'm sure if a Republican gets elected, that will be blamed for why. But it seems like they're less popular than
Ever.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time it seemed so bleak for that party. But then I'm also not plugged into politics. I could not name a Republican right now. I couldn't do it. Like Donald Trump, I don't think is a guy anymore. He's not in politics.
He is.
Is he still running for something? Is he in
might.
office? I don't even know that much. Like I couldn't name a Republican for you.
Just try. The Zodiac Killer.
Oh, Ted Cruz?
There
Is he
you go.
still around? What
Yeah,
does he
yeah.
do now?
He's a Texas senator.
Okay, good for him. Like I don't know them. I don't even know anything about Ted Cruz other than that he tried to run for president once, right? And he very badly failed.
Well, he ran at the same time that Donald Trump did.
Is that what that was? He ran against him? I literally don't remember.
Well,
I've blocked politics out. Like it's all gone. It's all dumped out of my brain. I don't have space for it. I have to live my own life. I can't like think about things that, you know, like I just, the effect I can have on society is to be myself very openly and fight for myself. And like my existence is political, so I don't want to go any further than that. Like it's enough for me to literally just fucking be out and trans, and that is like way more than enough politics than I fucking ever
There's
needed
a fair
to deal
amount
with.
of politics.
It's a lot of fucking politics. Being trans is a lot of fucking politics.
I'm not even trans, and it's a fair amount of politics.
Yeah, for you as my partner.
Whoa,
And that's not even all the politics I've got to deal with
I
in
just
my
got
life.
zapped
So.
into a match. What the that was cool.
I'm quite over. Cozy says, "Why the fuck would you super chat Trixie for politics?" I mean, I understand wanting to know, like, where people stand on issues. I just don't know the issues, and that can be a problem for some people too. Like, you know, if you think I need to be informed, but I'm just like, I just can't. Like, I have way too much to fucking deal with in my life. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, have you?
It doesn't do anything for me. Knowing about politics will do nothing for me.
This is a rhetorical question, and I know that obviously the person who asked the super chat, I know the answer to the question, but it's like, have you tried to watch a government hearing before? They're
no.
not fun.
Maybe I've tried, but I haven't succeeded. That's for sure.
I watched C-SPAN a lot as a kid.
Oh,
just
God,
it was
how?
Well, we had 10 channels, and most of the time it was golf or C-SPAN.
Right, let me just tell you, the first time in my entire life I ever took interest in politics beyond just being, you know, into Obama because he was very charismatic and I was a teenager, is playing Mass Effect. Like, I never...
What do you mean by that?
I never cared about any politics, real or fictional, in any way, shape, or form until I played Mass Effect and literally became interested in the concept of politics, like, on a storytelling level. And I really, like, I launched my channel kind of on the back of that. Like, wow, I understand story now. I'm going to talk about story. And then I made a bunch of cyberpunk analysis. And, like, and then the SAO video. And, like, from there, branched out in everything I've done since. But, like, it really was, like, that moment, I'm 23 years old, and suddenly plot, like, means anything to me. Legend of Galactic Heroes, no way I could have enjoyed that until, like, when we watched it, you know? Like, it just... I have so little interest in politics as a subject in general that, you know, it took a lot for me to even get to the point. And then there was a little while where I got really into it because I gained enough of an understanding of both sides. Because I grew up with no understanding of Republicans at all. No exposure, no understanding, never talked to them, never associated with them, never had anything to do with anybody Republican in my whole life until... I started dating one, basically. And, like, then I learned all this stuff, and I got really interested for a while, and then that relationship ended, and all that interest went out the fucking window. So, yeah. Adam Forte with $5. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Rant about how your year is going.
Pretty great.
It's been a weird one this year. It's been slow. This has been a really slow year compared to the previous 2 years for me. 2020 and 2021... were fucking nuts. Like,
I think that's a shared opinion of most people.
That's true. But they were... the thing is that they were nuts different for me because most people spent... Like, that was their first time spending 2 years indoors. That was my first time not spending 2 years indoors. Because everyone else locked themselves up, and I went, oh, nobody's outside.
Let's go outside.
I can go outside now. Oh, everybody's wearing masks. This is a perfect time for me to gender transition. Like... It was very... The pandemic was weirdly convenient and educational to me in that lots of people learned what it's like to be me all at once. And that was a powerful thing for me. I'm not saying I'm happy about it. I would have rather I just, you know, emerge into the world as it was, which was a way funner place and way better. And going outside didn't really mean I could do anything because nothing was happening, you know? But... you know, it was an interesting world to find myself in for someone from my perspective who is suddenly, you know, having that perspective shared by, like, everybody on Earth, you know, just, like, understood me way better all at once. So that was weird and interesting. But, you know, 2020, my life got shaken up massively. I came out, I started transitioning. This stuff is a way bigger deal than I've probably even made it seem online. Like, I talk about being trans a lot, but the amount of my time and, like, thought that has been put towards transitioning is more than I could communicate because, like, it really was that big of a struggle for me for 28 years of, like, fucking constantly being hung up in insecurity about my gender and sexual identity. So, like... unraveling all of that has been particularly in 2020 and 2021 was like just most of my thinking was just like trying to figure out who I actually am as opposed to who I've been lying to myself and saying that I was, for all this time. And so there was a lot of personal discovery, and then there was also just a lot of shakeup because it was like my previous very serious relationship ended that year. My new very serious relationship started that year in 2020. I made all kinds of new connections. I traveled all over the place. 2021, we were constantly traveling. I made all kinds of new connections and found out about all kinds of new abilities I have. And I think at the time I was nervous about the idea of escalating how much all of this was going to happen. Where I was nervous about the thought of this being more than monthly or being more than that. And then once I couldn't do it for a while, which is this year, I have buckled down and I've just been trying to make money so I can do all these new things I've discovered and have the money to do it, where I spent a lot of money doing all those things, but now I have to have the money to do them all again and to do them all continually. So I got really serious about work, and saving money, and therefore haven't been traveling all the time, haven't been doing tons of events,
but it's
still
not
been
fun
making
to
tons
do
of connections and stuff. Huh?
I said, but it's not fun to not do those
right
things.
Exactly. It's not fun especially just not being able to, not feeling able because of money, feeling like, because back in 2020 I had a decent amount that I had just put away, or that I was just holding on to rather, that I was able to spend to make all this stuff possible even when my career was kind of on the outs. But now I am okay, I need to have a consistent revenue stream while I'm doing all this stuff so that it's affordable continually, So it's 2020, 2021 was spending a lot of money to find myself and having a lot of cool new experiences. 2022 has been, okay, you understand what you want. Now you have to get it and make sure you can get it consistently. And that just means working really hard. So yeah, all of my memories of this year so far are just of working really hard and trying to find a paradigm that will allow me to do more fun shit while still making enough money to make the fun shit possible. That's meant changing a lot as a person and as a content creator, and understanding what works and doing way more live streams, because frankly, these super chat rant requests are by far my biggest revenue stream right now. And the fact that I can do this consistently, is very powerful. And if this audience grows, if more people come who are able to, because I don't want to milk everybody dry for every penny they have if I only have so many viewers who can contribute to the stream,
unless you want to. I
guess what I'm trying to say is it would be just, if you can't contribute to the stream, or can't as much as you'd like to, it's just as meaningful if you can find someone who can, if you could spread the content and get more people interested, tell them about me and why I'm cool, or, what's changed from the last time they heard of me or anything like that. All of that, I just need the good word of mouth. I have a bad reputation, and,
Well, you should be like Joan Jett.
Well, that was what I was like. I used to think about that song all the time as a justification for why I could be the way I was. But guess what? That song
even Joan
is
Jett
a massive commercial pop hit.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm sure after she made that song, she gave a lot bigger of a damn about her reputation, because she was suddenly a goddamn celebrity. But it's also not a song where she's giving you any reason to, why she has a bad reputation, any reason you should agree with the people who are against her, other than her general attitude towards the critique, I guess. Anyway, Anethmic Lullaby / Joshua with $5. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Rant about any advice on writing and promoting stuff for Substack. Will it depend a lot on what you're writing when it comes to advice? So when it comes to Substack is in a similar position to Patreon in that nobody is reading, nobody's going through Substack articles looking for an interesting Substack article. You're with Patreon, they've always tried, and Substack is trying as well, to have a social media aspect where it's you can discover other Patreons. No one uses that. Maybe someone must, but most people don't. Most people find out about a Patreon because they're already a fan of the creator and they want to see more, Now Substack is interesting because it's, you know, it's writing based. So being a YouTuber doesn't necessarily draw the most people, but I think it's been very popular with Twitter writers. Like if you have a popular Twitter, or if you're somebody who's written articles, you know, for sporadic places, and you're just looking for somewhere to like collect your style and, you know, and like draw people deeper into being a fan of you as a writer, then, you know, I think people who have popular Twitters, people who are, you know, and you can also take advantage of hashtags. So like if you write an article about something that's relevant right now and then you tag it right, there's, you know, a greater chance someone will discover it. But more likely what you're going to want to do is specifically send it to people you think will be interested. And like, look, people send me shit all day, all the time. I don't always respond. I don't always consume the thing, but I do discover a lot of great shit, whether it's people sending me their own stuff or stuff that other people made. You know, if it so happens I do have the time and I do end up liking it, I might end up retweeting the thing or talking about it, you know, like, and you should never be relying on one person. Like, there's lots of people who are just messaging me this stuff because I say, yeah, message creators you like, and they go, okay, let me message you. And I'm like, well, if you only like me, that's a big problem. Like, you need to have 10 people that you are aching to discover you, at least, you know, or else you're just not drawing from enough influences to even probably be interesting, if I'm being honest, you know. So, yeah, like, let me reread the super chat, how it's phrased, right. As for advice on the writing itself, I mean, basically, the way I've been approaching a lot of my content lately is I try to find someone who I am specifically writing that thing for. So, for instance, like, you know, if I'm trying to think of a really good example of this, the Digimon video, actually, like, my interest... No, not that one. There have been ones for you, but I couldn't think of them off the top of my head. Because I thought Moon Knight at first. I was like, that wasn't for you. That was for me. We just watched them. Both liked Moon Knight a lot. And that encouraged me to want to do that video. But, because I knew I could show it to you. But, like, there's a friend of mine, from back in the Brony days who had told me about, like, how they related to Digimon through their experiences of household abuse. And so that was like a theme that was in my mind going into watching the show that I wanted to explore. And so I wanted to write that video in a way that I thought that person would appreciate it and get something out of it, you know? So like it's like if I know for a fact that there's at least one person who I think should genuinely enjoy this video, then, you know, at least I'll know that it's reached that person so strongly that it was worth having done. And then if other people like it, that's also great, you know, if other people connect with it on that level. But, you know, I'm trying to think of one I know I did specifically for Victor recently. And it's not even that I will send, like, I don't necessarily even send these to the person or think, like, okay, you know, they definitely will watch it. It's just, like... especially if somebody like recommends me to cover something, then it's like that's who I've got in mind, and I want to make sure I'm covering it in a way that person would appreciate. A big part of the way I've been handling my content lately, for instance, is to try to make it as like gender accessible as, like, that people of all gender denominations can access it. Because my content when I was a Brony YouTuber, I had like a 55% female audience according to my analytics. And ever since doing anime, it's been like 15% female. And I very much don't want my channel to be a boys club or for it to be mostly guys watching me. I really liked the original ratio, and I want to figure out, like, how do I get back to that? Is it just that I need to talk about more feminine material? Because My Little Pony is a show for girls in spite of what all the brony movement, you know, and everything. And my content was made to be very accessible and not like biting. Whereas when I started covering anime, I was trying to appeal to anime fans, which is kind of a boys club, but I don't want it to be. You know, I want to. As an anime YouTuber, I'm really trying to speak to the queer anime fans and people and allies, like, more than anybody else. You know, and that's why I've been so hard focused on LGBT month. You know, I want to be. I finally reached the point in life where I'm ready to embrace myself as, like, I am a queer voice, you know, like, definitionally, whatever I say is queer shit, so I'm just going to totally embrace that. Anyway, I got a couple more super chats here. Shibbity Dibbity with £5, and then another £5 for a 2-part rant request. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Rant about what you feel people are trying to describe when they say the burden of masculinity. If you experienced anything like that before, transition, and if you feel it has been lifted from you since your transition. Interesting. Do you feel anything about this first bird? I'm curious. About the burden of masculinity. Does that concept mean anything to you?
No. Otherwise I'll get it. Otherwise you'll be mad at me. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke for the fellas. No, I don't know what that.
I'm gonna look up what comes up if I search that exact phrase. Let's see. The burden of masculinity on the Daily Star. Think of all the things a guy is expected to do. Okay, I will say. So the big one for me is mowing the lawn. I don't want to
killing bugs.
It's part of
I
it
have
is,
to kill bugs.
It's it's not even that like gets to me the most, although that's part of it. Like watching the bugs run away and everything from you mowing is definitely a little bit sad and traumatic.
I'm not talking about while mowing the lawn.
Oh, you're just talking about that you have to kill bugs.
Yeah.
In general. I mean, when we were around Mint Salad, she'll kill all the bugs. She's really so like I don't feel like it's always a calling on a guy. Like I've known several girls who were like, "I'll kill all the bugs for you," and I've always been somebody who tries to surround myself with people who will do things like that for me that I won't do. But yeah, definitely I got made fun of all the time growing up for being afraid of bugs and being afraid to kill bugs and being I literally, even though now I shave specifically to feminize myself, I was terrified of shaving for years because I saw it as like this manly thing. Like you're fucking drawing on your face with a razor blade. It's literally terrifying. And it took me way too long to ask how to shave. Because once I actually did it, I realized like, oh, if you have fucking cartridge razors, it's nothing. And my skin is not sensitive. So shaving's very easy for me. I wish I had known that 3 years before I did, instead of being depressed about it for all that time, about how shitty my facial hair was. But, like, there's tons of things that are expected of guys, and there are certain things that I like being physically strong and feeling physically strong, not necessarily, like, proportional to other people, but proportional to myself. Like, if I feel like I can jump higher or climb higher or lift more than I look like I should be able to, that's always been satisfying to me. But it's not a competitive thing. It's only like it's just like I want to be strong enough to do things I want to be able to do, not that I need to like be stronger than the next person or whatever, which is how a lot of the guys around me thought about it. So it was always hard for me to connect even on that level with like the way that dudes were looking at their own masculinity of like, I need to be this protectorate force. And,
Which is kind of what I have to be for you.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I have burdened Bird with the expectation that, like, he's a large, intimidating man who, like, can help me to not be as afraid in, like, general situations. And, like, there was a time when I was with my last partner who was about my size, and we're both fairly small, where, like, when I would be out in public and I'd see, like, the sheer size of all the men around, like, big, like, dudes with muscles, I'm like, any of these guys could fucking just destroy me. Like, they could just instantly waste me and, and get to my girl if they wanted to. And, like, there's nothing I could do about it. And eventually, once I transitioned, it became, oh, this is how all girls feel all the time, is any of these men could just take me, and now I get it. Like, if I didn't have you around, like, especially now that I'm only 125 pounds, I feel my lightness. I feel like I can just be scooped
that
up
feels
and
like you're kind of just bragging.
I am bragging, but, like, I'm bragging about how... Like, I think a lot of people who are overweight do it out of it's secure. It makes you feel harder to fuck with. Like, you can't be moved. You can't just be pushed over, like...
You become the immovable object
right.
to the unstoppable force.
Definitely when I was overweight, and I managed a very careful amount of overweight for a very long time, it was partly because I felt more secure if I was a little bit intimidating. If I looked a little scary or like you couldn't fuck with me. But eventually I came to realize that, like... by myself, I look intimidating because I look insane. If I'm with a woman, I don't look intimidating because I just look like a chumpy boyfriend, you know? So it's like, okay, well, this isn't the same, you know? And now if I hang out with women, we just look like a flock of women, and that's no more intimidating than...
How many women does it take to make a flock?
I think when you get up to like 5 or 6, that's where you can, like, I've seen how like extremely beautiful small women travel in whole packs. Like, in order for self-defense, they go everywhere in a group of like 7. And like they'll all go to the bathroom together, they'll all hang out, like they'll just stay in proximity, especially like models do this.
Sure.
Like you see a lot of just like this herd mentality, and like if you look at a group like that, all of them will look at you at once, like, why are you looking over here? You know, it's very defensive because they're all equally aware that like individually, you know, like it's a terrifying world to be beautiful and small, you know. And I do think part of I've known that I was trans for a very long time, and I think when I was a teenager, part of my not transitioning was a defense mechanism from the fact that I always thought I would just turn into a massive slut if I was attractive. Like,
well,
in
it
high
hasn't
school.
happened yet.
Well, no, because I'm an adult now, and I have totally different perspective on sex. But like, when I was a teenager, I would have just had sex with anybody who wanted to have sex with me. I would have like been a total slut.
You would have been Jules in Euphoria.
Yeah. No, Jules that's how most of the like, okay, not most, but a lot of trans girls I know had exactly that experience. And like, well, and no, a lot of girls I know had that experience. Just like, if you're attractive in high school, all the guys are hounding after you, and it's an environment where you can really kind of take your pick, and you have a lot of power over, you know, and also a lot of people trying to take power away from you, including other girls, you know. So it's like, it's a really complex social situation, you know. And I've known lots of girls who were hot in high school and gotten to hear all the, you know, the perspectives on it. But like, for me, I was avoiding that. I knew I was pretty, but like I had to lose 30 pounds and start wearing girls' clothes and makeup, and I would have been very easily hounded by every bisexual dude in the school, you know, of which there were many, because my school is kind of gay. Just a little bit, though. Just a little touch of the gay in high school. But it wasn't like that before high school. So, like, there was no point I could have come out before then. But by then, I had spent enough time on the internet getting catfished to know that it was not a good idea for me to sleep around, you know? That, like, I was going to get used and abused. And I was legitimately terrified of that. So...
Aww.
But yeah, like I really do feel like, you know, me being like, my motivations are very different now. Like now I'm losing weight because again, I want to be fit enough to like do the things. Like I want to be able to dance in my music videos convincingly, you know, like Britney Spears would dance at a
down, Tatiana?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not even as concerned about busting down necessarily, but just more like choreographed thematic dancing. I really admire Chester Lockhart's music videos rather, particularly the one for that song I sampled in Good Girl. In Loving Memory, yeah. That's a really great music video, and the dance moves has a lot to do with it. And like ever since watching that, I was like, man, the only thing stopping me from being able to do a video like this is I can't move my body that way, you know. And that's frustrating because it's like, well, that's something that's solvable. It just takes practice, and so you know, I would like to be able to dance and all that, but you know, it starts with being physically fit.
I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Whoa, I have spikes.
Do I like VTubers? I mean, I like them conceptually. There's not any that I watch or am a fan of, though.
I think Gwar
is adorable.
Yeah, Gar is really cute.
I can't listen to her. Like,
yeah,
I turn on the stream and I listen to like 2 sentences and I'm like, that's too much. Like, way too cutesy, way too over the top. You know, I like being annoying and cutesy. It's hard for me to listen to other people do it. You know what I mean? I think
do.
that might be true for a lot of people, but it's.
If you want to take dance classes and you... No, I can't. I shouldn't do that.
I'm not even at the level of like. I mean, I would like to take classes eventually.
No,
I would have to find
I was about to do
very different schedule.
I was about to do an ad. I
see.
just shouldn't do
that
ad.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So good.
Oh,
actually, I do.
Yeah.
The burden of masculinity is when you give money to your internet parasocial relationship to try and get them to empathize with the male struggle, and they spend the entire time talking about female vulnerability. Sarcasm. Well, I mean, I can't. Like I said, I relate to. I mean, what they were asking essentially was like, do you feel that the burden of masculinity has been lifted from you? And the answer is sort of yes, and also sort of like that's part of the point. Is like I really need people to understand that I am not interested in being this idea of a guy that we have that some people really want to be, you know? And like I really tried to convince myself to be that because I thought that was what I needed to be to have a woman in my life, and I thought I needed a woman in my life because I couldn't be a woman myself, you know? And so once I was able to love myself and just identify myself as a woman and to not have to, you know, feel like I needed there to be like reification from the outside, you know, then it changed the way that I felt the need to express myself. So like, you know, when I thought I had to have a woman in my life, then it's like, well, if I need to be a man for that to work, you know, if that means I have to go mow the lawn and I have to go, you know, fucking, you know, take care of just whatever. If I have to be the sole breadwinner or whatever because that's the expectations of a man, then I'll just do that because that's what's being expected of me. But there was a point in my last relationship where, like, I'm just so adamantly against lawn mowing on so many levels that it did get to a point where
they have robot
my partner
lawnmowers
started
now.
doing it. You know, but it really was like it was a weird thing where like it was clear that the expectation had been that this was something the guy does, and that like it was a weird role reversal that my ex-partner never probably has not put themselves in that position again. Probably has not mowed another lawn, you know, since that relationship ended.
She would never.
Definitely.
She is a woman of class.
Yeah. I don't want to, you know, talk about her too much, but like, yeah, I
would never. Wasn't she in the Air Force?
I think it was, you know, it was something that she was trying to do for me because I was obviously so uncomfortable with doing it. But, you know, once I had that burden lifted, like, it's not to say that I wouldn't mow the lawn if I had to for some reason or whatever, but like, you know, it was definitely a thing I would never have done ever if I didn't feel like at some point I had to because, you know, well, my dad, all growing up, he would constantly say, you're big, strong boys. How come you can't, you know, just go mow the lawn? Because my excuse was always like, it's scary. Like, I don't know how to do it and it's scary. You know, it's loud, it's violent, it's fucking, it's mind-numbing. It does take a certain amount of strength. I'm usually using a cheap, shitty lawnmower that fucks up the whole time. So, like, yeah, I think it's fucking miserable. You're in the hot sun, and I don't care about my lawn being long. So, like, to me, it's just completely a fucking wash. It's, like, nothing but bad experience. And I can remember, like, every time I've ever done it, that's on the level of trauma.
In the hot sun, I mowed the lawn and the lawn won.
Do I think lots of people have no other option than to be that person? Everybody has an option. It's just about who you're willing to piss off. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are like, you know, I care about like my familial connections or my friendships more than I care about being myself, and they think that being their self will threaten those things, and so they are willing to. And like, I do think all of us have to be a person who can fit into society and be accepted by others. So there is a degree to which, like, you know, I do think, you know, you should try to be somebody who is acceptable, but at the same time, like, I draw my lines in the sand on people based on what they will or won't accept. Like, if you're like, oh, I can't hang out with anybody who's gay, then I'm like, well, then I can't hang out with you. But just for that reason, like, that is your distinction of why you can't hang out with people is that because they're gay, you know, like, that is the, you know, but there's no like actual thing you could be that would make me feel that way. It's the problem with people just being themselves. That is the thing that drives me the most insane, you know? Anyhow. Moving along, we've got a $10 super chat from Blink and You'll Miss It. Domo arigato gozaimasu! Rant about how media can resonate with us and literally save or change our lives. I mean, that's the point to me. Like, that's what it's all for. That's how we can kind of justify it. Because, like, I mean, there was a long part of my career where it was like, oh, art is this, or, you know, this is or isn't art, and therefore is or isn't valuable. Where, like, you know, you must be this much art to have real meaning and to really affect. The fact of the matter is, everything is affecting people all the time. And I couldn't really understand it until I saw the effects of my own work and realized that I should have been taking myself 1,000% more seriously. Because the attitude I had for the longest time was, don't copy me, everybody. Like, I'm a troubled person. I'm just trying to vent and, like, help other troubled people to also vent, you know? But, like, you shouldn't look up to me because I look up to people who are more advanced than me. I look up to people who are at a higher level who I'm trying to be more like, and who, you know, all this content is me growing to try to be more like the people I admire. But me saying that or being that person doesn't make the people following me be in the same position, you know? Like, there was a really interesting conversation I had with someone called Simid one time where they said at one point, like, you know, you constantly said, don't copy me unless you're better with self-help, and I thought I was, and I was wrong. You know, and I heard, like, when I heard that, it really sank in for me, like, I have been just a bad parent to my audience. Like, and I kept telling them, don't look up to me, but they're going to do it anyways. It's like if your mom told you, don't take any influence from me. I'm a bad parent. Don't take any influence from me. And it's like, well, Mom, I can't not. You're the only example I have, you know? So, like, even if I can forgive myself for, you know, not being a complete enough person to have been a good parent to my audience, you know, I understand that responsibility now as, like, no, the art will affect them. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's not even like, oh, try to make art that affects people. No matter what, the art will affect them. You really need to think about the effect you're gonna have, you know, and that has changed my approach significantly. Where, you know, I thought you could basically do whatever you want and be like, all right, take it or leave it, you know, but it's more complicated than that. Like, people are going to take it differently from how you meant it, and you can't just say take it or leave it. You need to have a whole conversation with them about what they got out of it to make sure that they didn't get something unintended out of it, you know? Like, you taking a break from the Rocco's Modern League?
Yeah. It's, you know, it's a game. It's fun.
So corny when someone says a cartoon or a song saved their life, but it can be very true. I mean, there's lots of times where people are, like, teetering on the edge, and then they just
Engelbert Humperdinck.
They hear this thing, Engelbert Humperdinck, with
Every day I wake up, then I start to break up, lonely as a man without love. Every day.
Would you say that song has had that powerful an effect of a life-saving song?
What?
I mean, I definitely think music got me through my teens. Like, when I was 14, I wanted to die very badly, and the only thing I had to connect with was the few CDs I had downloaded on my computer, because I didn't have internet access on it for a while. And so it was like, if I didn't have American Idiots and Meteora and fucking The Widow, or rather, Francis the Mute by the Mars Volta.
Is Engelbert Humperdinck still alive? I would love to see him live. That sounds awesome.
Of all things, for Cozy to have seen live the person you responded to their message with, it's hilarious and incredible. But yeah, like, I think I've had people tell me that my content has kept them alive. There was one person who very explicitly made a video called, like, how Digibro saved my life or whatever. So I am actually quite used to getting those kinds of responses to my content. Every time I get a response like that, I think, good, you better fucking be there for me then. Like, I need help too, so, pay it forward to me back. But, that's my goal, is for all of us to fucking inspire one another and keep each other going.
A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes, exactly. But I need it, like, honestly, I would do it for free if that was tenable, but it's not. That's why I have to charge. Like, when I first transitioned and I did the Befriending the Internet series, like, the intention of that was, like, I'm going to be an internet social worker and just talk to, like, schizophrenic people online all day about their problems.
Whoa.
Actual schizophrenic people. I'm not being a meme about it. I'm talking about the people I know on Twitter who are diagnosed schizophrenics who like talking to me. But, like, it got to a point where I was, like, talking to people online all the time, but I just, like, wasn't making any money. So, like, I couldn't keep my own life together and do that at the same time. But, as far as I'm concerned, people are basically paying me for my time simply because of the fact that my time is valuable and I can't give it away for free.
Bonk.
But,
sorry, I just have the scout saying bonk stuck in my head now.
Robot Anon with $5. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Rant about how anime handles death. I feel like anime deaths just hit different.
Bruno Bucciarati's death is incredible.
Yeah.
When he actually dies and becomes just like a golden mass of clouds.
Yeah, he had a good death in media is interesting because it definitely hits different depending on, like, how much you expect it and how it's handled. Like, okay, I grew up very much somebody who, like, doesn't like to see characters die. Like, I know some people who basically... Actually, I would even say that, like, most people really only take an interest in a story when people start dying. And for me, it's like, when I hear that a character died in a show, I become less... Or this used to be the case. I become less likely to watch it.
Huh.
Because I don't want to experience the emotional gut punch of watching someone die,
I can understand that.
But if I am spoiled to what happens, I am more likely to watch it after having been spoiled because I've already had, I already know what to expect and I'm not going in. So, like, for instance, with Game of Thrones, that was a show that I was avoiding for a long time because I heard it was so dark and fucked up. But then I ended up just independently seeing just the Red Wedding scene. And I thought it was really badass because, divorced from knowing who anybody was, it was just a fucking crazy thing that it happened in a show. And that really got me thinking about it a lot, and that got me interested in watching it. But then in season 4, when the Viper got killed, I didn't see it coming. I didn't, I wasn't spoiled, and it was so fucking gut-wrenching for me that I basically dropped the show. Like, I watched the last episode of the season and then never watched it again. And it was because, like, of the particular way that I had felt emotionally manipulated by it that I didn't enjoy. And, like, I probably wouldn't have felt that way if I had already known what was going to happen. I would have just watched it and I wouldn't have attached myself to that character because I would have thought, oh, he's definitely going to die, But putting, like, a sexy bisexual fucking swarthy, often shirtless, lovable dude in the show, like, basically a character made just to appeal to me, and then killing him off after having accomplished nothing for 8 episodes, I was very unhappy about it.
He almost accomplished something. He got real close.
I was not even out then, and I already knew that he was, like, the most attracted I'd been to a male character in a show ever, probably. I did not take it well when the Viper got killed.
It's okay, he's the Mandalorian.
He wears a fucking mask the whole time. And he's, now he's probably, like, too old for me to be my type anymore.
Pedro Pascal's great. This is why I want to show you Narcos. He's in Narcos.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so, like, with anime, like, death doesn't hit me as hard as, like, the conceptual fucked up shit. Like, I have a very distinct memory of, like, the moment I was mind broken to darker content. It was when I was, like, I want to say either 16 or 7. I was turning 17. I was about to turn 17. It was 2008. And I watched, like, Techno Lies and Black Lagoon and the first few episodes of Now and Then, Here and There. And it was particularly all the fucked up stuff that happens to children that, like, really fucking got to me. It really fucked with my mind. Because, like, Black Lagoon has a pair of siblings who were, like, in snuff film victims, which I had never even heard of the concept before. I ended up doing research on that basically mentally scarred me to the point of everything I've written since being somewhat inspired by it. And, like, just, like, basically all at once saw how dark and fucked up shit could get. But because it was in cartoons, it was, like, just palatable enough, you know, where, like, even gory cartoons had been too scary for me until I was 16. Like, those were literally the darkest shows I'd ever seen. The most violent shows I'd ever seen were, like, Black Lagoon and Techno Lies. And, you know, it, like, just the thoughts that those shows put into my head, you know, for days, like, it was, like, keeping me up at night and shit, like, realizing how fucked up and dark stuff is. And then Madoka Magica was another one where, like, I really had convinced myself it wasn't going to be a dark show, and I wasn't ready for Mommy's death at all. So that was really haunting.
I think no one's ready for Mommy's death.
I would say that I'm still somebody who is pretty haunted by death in media, but I've come to kind of appreciate what people see in it, that it is like a thrill ride, like it is a roller coaster, like the fact that it traumatizes you is kind of the point, because then you remember it forever, you know? And, like, the most recently, you've been watching The Boys. Which is just the darkest, most fucked, violent thing possibly fucking imaginable. I really do think it's like a new Event Horizon of grimness.
It is hard for me to watch sometimes.
It is the grimmest thing I've seen since, like, oh, like, God, it's... Because there's no levity. Like, it's a
There's
dark...
some levity.
It's a dark comedy, but usually it's funny in fucked up ways that are also traumatizing. Like, I would consider it a horror comedy, basically. But yeah, it's difficult. And yeah, so, like, with anime, you know, I've only even recently been willing to venture to watch shows like Another, which is also a horror comedy in this vein, where, like, you know, when I first saw the clips from that and Blood Sea and other, like, really violent shows, it was like, again, haunting. I will think about that imagery for days. I can't handle death. Death as a concept is very difficult for me, but I've been literally trying to desensitize myself to it just so I can handle it better. Like, I don't know. My job is to have perspective. Like, I need as much perspective as I can get, and I've reached a point in adulthood where I'm willing to face, you know, that darkness and try to get some understanding of what the fuck is going on in this world, you know? But, yeah. Let me go back and make sure I answered that whole super chat. How anime handles death, and it just hits different. Yeah, I guess I don't think it hits so different from how it is in other media. If anything, I just think it's toned down a little bit, where it's like, it's you know, like, I can remember when Kamina died and being sad about it, but people had already speculated that it could happen. Like, I remember when episode 7 came out, like, on the Mega Tokyo forum, somebody had written a post that was like, I'm pretty sure, based on everything being set up, Kamina's going to die in the next episode, and it's going to become about Simon's journey. And then that's exactly what happened. And so, like, I was upset by it, but I also felt like, oh yeah, well, they were right. You know, like, oh yeah, this really is predictable storytelling. Whereas, like, my brother Victor was crushed, you know, like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, the greatest character ever, you know, died, and, like, the show's never going to be the same. And it's, you know, it's hard to even continue after that point for him. Whereas I was like, yeah, you know, this is what I saw coming. So it really is a matter of, like, Do you see it coming or not? Are you desensitized? You know, even when I see some like really violent shit that does like horrify me and terrify me, when I see it again, it like instantly robs all the power out of it. You know, like that head explosion scene from Scanners. I've seen that clip so many fucking times.
There's a lot of head exploding in the second season of The Boys.
That's true, yeah. And like I can call to mind all those images instantly. Like that scene of the girl exploding the guy and it just like rains blood from the sky. Like I remember vividly what that looked like. But like even though at the time it was like holy fuck, like now I'm just like yeah, that was neat. You know, it's just again, the conceptual stuff is what gets to me the most. It's usually not about how violent it is, but how conceptually fucked up it is and whether or not it's something I'd thought about before. If it was something I've never thought about before, like that you could die that way, or that like the possibility of what would happen to someone if they blew up in this way, that's usually what really makes me like, oh no, now I have a whole new thing to be worried about, you know?
Oh no, now I have to be worried about superheroes on top of everything else.
Thank you, ASC Presents for the $1. It says, D's nuts. Heading to sleep immediately. Have a nice sleep. You deserve it. And yeah, Sucker Punch. Everybody needs to listen to the EP. We're going to be dropping tracks constantly all summer long. Like every week, we're going to have a new song. So the Sucker Punch, the consecutive normal punches from Sucker Punch are going to be coming and coming and coming. When I was watching Gurren Lagann, the video for the episode where Kamina dies was broken, so I skipped it. Didn't expect something so big to happen in that one episode. Yeah, that would be a problem. So yeah, I guess that was all I had to say about the way death is handled in anime. I don't know what you meant by it hits different, because ultimately I kind of concluded I think that it all hits me pretty hard. Like, death in media generally hits me pretty hard.
Death in media.
Cozy with $5. Domarigato gozaimasu. Recommend me what will be the 9th slot in my 3x3.
K.
And then there's an Imgur link.
It's K. It should be
Let's
K.
Let's find out. It could be K.
It is K.
What if K is already in their 3x3?
It's not.
Alright, let's see what we've got here. I am not even sure what the first one is. I think it's Ashita no Joe, but it's a very obscure image. You really tried to find like the weirdest picture from each of these, didn't you? The one in the top right, I don't recognize. I cannot tell what the one in the top right is. We've got His and Her Circumstances, great show. Mobile Suit Gundam, great show. My Neighbor Totoro, fantastic movie. Flowers of Evil, I have not seen much of that, but I've heard it's really good. I think this is You're Under Arrest, which is a cute, good series. The one in the middle, I also don't recognize. It looks like some fucking trippy 90s shit. It might just be Ava or something, but like a really weird image that I don't recognize. Yeah, it looks like it's just a really warped picture of Asuka putting on her plug suit, but it's been like fucked with to death. Is this a scene that happens in the show? Like, does this image appear in somewhere in Ava? Because if so, that's dope, and I didn't even know it. What will be the 9th spot on your 3x3?
K.
Could be K.
Mushishi.
I'm trying to think of what you wouldn't have seen based on this list that I would have seen and can recommend. The top right is Momotaro's Sacred Soldiers. Middle is Evangelion. Okay. It is from the end of Ava. That's really neat. I really had to stare at it for a while to realize it like wasn't just like an album cover for some obscure internet hardcore techno band or something. I realize the people listening to the VOD will have no idea what's going on because you can't click the link that Cozy sent and I can't click over to show you it, but it's just, you know, it's just a weird 3x3. So, okay, like, I mean, we've already got Ashita no Joe and Gundam. Have you seen, like, a lot of other Osamu Dezaki work? Like, I don't know, Onisama A is really well beloved. I feel like that might be Takarazuka. That's one that like Econ's favorite Dizaki work. You know, other Hayao Miyazaki. I mean, if there's anything by these directors you haven't seen, I would have to imagine that would be like an easy fill-in. It's just hard for me to know what you have or haven't seen.
Have you seen K?
Tempted to think you would have seen everything from these directors.
K is very good.
It's also K.
It's a good show.
Martian Successor Nadesco. If you haven't seen that, Martian Successor Nadesco would be my answer.
Not to mention K.
If you have seen it, then, you know, tell me if you think that's on base or off base of me to have even suggested, and that might clue me into, you know, where I would swerve. Is Bird talking about KEI or K Project? I
Probably
think it is
K Project,
right? Yeah, the show that is just the letter K, and then also like whatever of Kings, like Return of Kings or some shit like that.
Yeah, all the stuff.
Yeah. Big King royalty. I'm gonna go pee. So.
Oh no, I have to be entertaining.
Send in the rant. No, you don't, because they have to pay for us to be entertaining. That's the.
Oh.
I mean, you're already being entertaining. You're playing video games. Look, there's more to this than just dialogue. All right, like there's multiple layers of engagement and involvement. It's not like we're just disappearing into a blackened void and there's nothing there. You know, you still got video games. You just got a minute. Just going to the bathroom. And, you know, while I'm not filling your head with words, you'll have the clarity of thought to consider what you want me to rant about. So.
And watch Rocket League.
Yeah, so if anything, I don't want you to talk to them. I want them to think about what they want.
They need to sit there and think about what they've done by not giving us money.
Well, I mean, even if they have, still got to think about, you know, you got to think through your justifications for why you're paying me, basically.
Exactly. Exacty. Man, I just can't get a grip on the physics. It is fun.
You did a great job of being absolutely silent.
Thanks. I'm really good at that.
Unfortunately, it didn't lead to any new super chats. It just led to darkness and silence and the light that shall fizzle out and the great cold death of the earth. Would you like some Cheetos?
Sure.
Here you go. I'm gonna eat these weird cheddar and sour cream Lays. The oddball of the pack. Also, discovered I did not like the sour cream and onion Ruffles at all.
I like them.
You do good, because I way too much sour cream for my taste. Not enough onion. Were they sour cream and onion, or is it sour cream and something else?
Maybe it's sour cream and something else.
Maybe it's ranch or something I don't like. Oh, these are fucking weird too. Tell me how you feel about these. I don't think they're that different from the other ones, so.
They're fine. The Ruffles ones are better.
I don't hate them, but I don't like them either. It's not worth the calories of eating a whole bag of them for me. We got a couple super chats. Give me a second to rinse the chip from my teeth. Cozy with $5. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Rant about watch order, production order, random order, chronological, etc. So, I've given this a lot of thought. And I think if you are approaching a show like, oh, I want to watch it in like an order, as a, like, if you're just going by, hey, I'm just going to watch whatever I care about, like whatever seems interesting to me, obviously you don't need any advice. Like, I tend to approach, if I'm like, if there's a whole franchise, let's say Lupin the Third, right? Like, I saw a little bit of Lupin Part 2 when it was on TV on Adult Swim, and I never got that into it. But when, like, Takeshi Koike got involved, and you really got that art style shift to make, to make it more appealing, then it grabbed me. And, like, particularly Part 4, I really loved, and I watched all of it. So, Lupin is kind of designed for you to jump on wherever. Like, it's really not meant to be a show that has a ton of lore or anything you need to know. So, I don't think that that's a show where anybody's going to feel, like, tasked to find out everything that's ever happened in it. Whereas something like Universal Century Gundam, like, my jumping on point was 0080, but it definitely made me feel like, okay, well, I gotta go see the original show. Like, I gotta know what the fuck is going on in this universe, because there's so many hints at all this other stuff that I didn't know about. Whereas, like, the alternate Century Gundams are obviously made so that you don't have to do that. So that you can just totally watch them independently, and it doesn't have anything to do with any other show, and it's all based on personal interest, So, when it comes to, like, if you are trying to watch something in an order, it just always makes sense to watch them in the order of release, to me. Like, I understand chronological can be interesting in certain cases. Like, so we've been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe in mostly chronological order. But I've seen a lot of these movies, and in particular, I've seen some of the later ones. Like, I saw Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness in theaters, having seen maybe, like, less than 8 other Marvel movies, and, like, that compelled me to want to go back and watch them all. And watching them in production order or in chronological, I think would have made equal amounts of sense to me, because, like, the production order is not in the chronological order, but they have organized it on Disney Plus in chronological order, like, so that you can have a grasp on what the chronology actually is, because the films were released in such a broken chronology and so frequently over the last few years, So, like, it does kind of feel like they are meant to all exist at once in your mind past a certain point, where it stopped being, like, event pieces and became just a whole universe to lose yourself in. So, like, I do think there are times where watching chronologically can make sense, but in general, I think if you're, like, asking the question, what order do I watch this in, I'm always going to say, watch it in production order. Watch it the order that it came out, because it's just going to make the most sense. Every single new thing was made with awareness of everything that came before it. So it's just going to make more sense if you watch it in order, because you understand what it's referencing. And the whole thing's easier to grasp. Like, if someone was trying to get into Star Wars right now, like, I would still say, go watch the original trilogy. Like, that's always going to be the starting point. There's never going to be something that makes more sense, because all of it is so integrally built out of that. Now, if you don't care about seeing all of Star Wars, or you just care about seeing the ones you would be most interested in, then this isn't even a question to ask, So, what I keep coming back to is basically, if you have to ask, go in production order. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Ritsu Mariko with $5. Domo arigatou gozaimasu! Rant about whatever your experiences have been with reading visual novels or the people who read them. Oh boy, with the people who read them. I do think it takes a certain kind of person to get into visual novels, because of the nature of the experience is very unique to other forms of media. It's kind of like reading a book, but you have to pay attention to different things, and they're usually structured different. So, like, the few visual novels I've played, the biggest things that were difficult for me is, one, listening to the music. And you kind of have to, because you won't really stay in the atmosphere of the story otherwise, but it's always just like a loop, because you know, it can't be fit to the pacing of the text. But I get so sick of music so fast if I have to listen to a loop of anything that's not like, you know, music I would personally enjoy. So like usually right off the bat I get annoyed with the music, and then I get annoyed with how fucking long-winded they are, because so many of them just seem like they had no editor, or like they're deliberately trying to be as long as possible, because it's like a hangout. Like, oh, don't you just want to hang out with these characters? And it's like, no, I want to know what their fucking deal is. Like, I want to know what the story is so that I care about them, and then I might want to hang out with them. But until I know what their deal is, I don't inherently care. And that's... I definitely think, you know, a lot of visual novels rely on the moe element of, like, you just inherently care about this character because of how they look. And that... It's very rare that there are characters that are to my taste enough that I actually feel compelled that way. And even then, usually they're not well written enough that I feel compelled to go through their whole story. So... yeah, like, none of the experiences I had drew me in enough. I really think it's just I don't have the patience. I don't even have the patience for regular novels, which are usually much better written and paced, you know, even, like, the ones that I've tried to read. And even still, like, I can't get through them. So, like, the thought of trying to finish any of the visual novels that I've played is, like, very daunting to me. And, like, everyone who plays visual novels acts like it's no big deal. Like, it's just not, like, it's just fun. And, like, to me...
It's just thousands of hours of your life.
Right, it's just, like, nonstop reading and total immersion in this, like, world of dumbass teenager anime problems, you know? Like, the only one I've actually finished was Saya no Uta, which is only, like, 4 hours long, and it was written by Urobuchi Gen, who wrote Madoka and everything. And, you know, I liked it, I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like I got so much out of it that it made me feel like, oh, this is a medium where I gotta, like, read all kinds of stuff. Like, it was just, like, a nice little story. It was, like, an 8 out of 10. And that was still, like, the best one I've found and the only one I found compelling enough to finish, you know? So, like, and I wouldn't read it again, probably. Like, I haven't and probably wouldn't. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just not a medium for me. It's so heavily connected to anime and manga culture, especially of the early 2000s, that it's kind of like an unavoidable talking point of something that I have to, like, know about and have had interest in at a time, but I just kind of gave up. I'm like, this isn't my bag, you know? Like, I have a hard time even with manga. Like, I'm less of a manga fan than most people seem to be now. Like, I really am about animation. That's my thing, and film. Like, I care more about watching live action films even than, like, reading manga and reading visual novels, because, like, the filmic medium is what I like the most. And it's because it's a fully controlled experience that, like, the pacing is, you know, is something that they're actually thinking about and having to handle carefully. They're not pacing visual novels, but they're usually bad in that regard. So, like, I guess my reaction to people who are into visual novels is to look at them as, like, oh, you're into things that I just can't be. You know, like, oh, I appreciate why you love this thing so much, but you have to understand that, like, just as an experience, it's not fun for me. You know, it feels like work. And anime can feel that way, but only if I make it work. Actually, I guess the only thing that doesn't feel like work to me is watching YouTube videos. Like, watching, like, Finn McKenty videos. Like, the only thing that's just relaxation.
God.
That's just pure... I know you can't stand his videos, but that's, like, the quickest release valve for me is, like, I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I watch is usually a Finn McKenty video if there is one.
He seems really cool.
He's great at what he does, and what he does is very close to what I do and want to do, and so he's been a really good influence on me. But more importantly, he's just the only person talking about the kind of music that like I grew up with and am interested in, who has an interesting perspective on it, you know? So, like, it's like every video he makes is innately interesting to me on some level because of my interest in that sphere of music. But more importantly, it's just like he's got this loud, clear voice, and it's cathartic to listen to. So it's just like I put it on so I can wake myself up in the morning and, like, hear voices, because my job is to be a voice, so I want to hear a voice that I'm trying to imitate, you know? The fact that his voice is so loud and cutting that I can't not pay attention to it. Like, it's not a voice I can easily keep on in the background. Even though I do, like, I will actually catch what he's saying sometimes because it's just so loud. And I gotta learn how to be that loud. I'm trying to be pretty loud right now because I'm a little bit far from the microphone.
How loud are you?
So loud. Blink and you'll miss it with $10. Don't worry, gozaimasu. Rant about how Japanese high schools require all students to take turns cleaning and caring for their own campuses. I wish we would do that. Yeah, no, we... Generally, I think the problem with Americans is, like, we don't give ourselves enough responsibility. We hate responsibility. We think responsibility is inherently communist, I think. And you know, and we've been very trained against communism in this country, but, like, it really is, like... just fucking do your part and everything goes so much smoother, you know? And, like, I think it's difficult for people to understand how much participation and teamwork benefits them unless they've already been in an environment where they've seen those benefits, you know? Like, as a Japanese school kid, you are given social responsibility on a level that American children just aren't. Like, we might be graded on whether or not we participate well with others, but there's a huge difference between being graded on it and being like, no, you have to do this. Like, this is part of the curriculum. You have to go and, you know, clean the fucking board or whatever. And granted, anime has shown us plenty of ways that this social paradigm can be abused and that, you know, people... bully one another and manipulate them, you know, through this system that they have, but none of that, I think, obviates the fact that, like, it just makes people work together better, to, like, give them more responsibility to their peers. I think Americans, you know, we want to be very individualistic, and so we look at other people like, oh, that's their problem, not my problem. And it's like, no, all of their problems are your problems because they make things harder for you. All the problems everybody else is having are making your problems worse. So, you know, anything you can do that's just like a little thing that would make life better for everybody, you know, you have to take it upon yourself to realize, like, oh yeah, everyone will be happier if I just suck it up and do the goddamn thing, you know. I don't know how many of them actually get that message out of it, but I do know that that is a very efficiently run society, and that Tokyo being the most, like, dense city in the world and somehow running well and not being like a crime-riddled hellscape like any large American city, you know, really shows you what a difference in how they're raised can do, what the mentality towards society can do. Connor Aronoff says, I'm with Bird on this one. Something about Finn rubs me the wrong way. Like, DIY and hardcore music is my musical home, so I should love his videos, but the way he sees music just doesn't vibe with me. It's just that... So, okay... I really think, I made fun of him a bit in a comment recently, because I comment on a lot of his videos, that Finn McKenty is the I used to be a piece of shit clip from, if any of you have seen I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, which is a fucking hilarious show that I really recommend to everybody. There's a great skit where Tim Robinson's playing a character whose thing is that he keeps insisting that he used to be a big piece of shit. A huge piece of shit. And he keeps ranting about, like, you know, what that means, all the, like, dumb shit he used to get up to. But he's not like that anymore. You know, he's recovered. But, like...
But the sloppy steaks were amazing.
Right. But, like, the main sort of thrust of the bit is that, like, nobody thought this guy was a piece of shit or had any issue with him. Except for the baby that cries when he picks it up. Until he... announces it and makes a deal out of it,
it's
and then
probably
everybody...
because I used to be a huge piece of shit.
Right, and then everybody starts looking at him weird and feeling more weird about him being around because he's talking about...
being a huge piece of shit, and the baby so knowing intensely, that he's being a huge piece of shit.
And so, Finn McKenty is a guy who keeps, you know, insisting that, like, throughout his 20s and early 30s, like, he was just, you know, getting stoned all the time and being nihilistic and, like, not successful. Like, he has one video where he goes through, like, how much money he made every year of his career, and, like, he literally designed the clothes for fucking oh god, it wasn't Forever 21, American Eagle. He worked for one of those big brands and, like, designed clothes that, like, people have fucking worn, that people remember and stuff from these brands, but he wasn't, you know, he wasn't, like, amazingly successful or anything because his mentality was more, like, I'm just trying to fucking around and partying and having opinions about people and, being kind of a piece of shit. And so, like, now my read on him is he's trying to be the ultimate normie. Anything that makes him feel like a dork or makes him feel uncool, he tries to avoid. And anything that he sees as very accessible and very pop, he promotes. And he really champions people's ability to be successful, which this is something that my dad is very like, so maybe that's part of it is like, because Finn McKenty does remind me of my dad in a lot of ways. It might be why I find it a comforting voice, but also bothers me in the same ways, because my dad is very driven that way, success-minded as well. But there's a disconnect in that Finn actually does understand the artistry and also is celebrating the success, whereas my dad doesn't understand the artistry and only sees the success. But like seeing somebody who can talk about it from both angles is really helpful to me, because it's very edifying in why something is or isn't a hit. Something I've come to realize is almost everybody who I look up to, like all the older people I follow online, most of them are marketing people. And like the reason most of them have online presences, I think, is that they're trying to do something good to offset the fact that they're marketing people. 'Cause marketing is like evil. Like it's just social engineering. It's just like manipulation. It's just like, how do we get these people to buy our product, and what do we need to say or do to make them do that, And like, you can look at that very darkly, but I kind of look at it as actually it's what everyone's doing all the time. Like, your ability to live on planet Earth is dependent on you, like, basically marketing yourself as a normal person, which is easy to do if you are normal, but otherwise everyone's just doing it through marketing, And like how good you are at marketing yourself has a lot to do with, how people feel about you. And so like anybody who seems to have like a really innate sense of what you can do to be popular is somebody who I'm always interested in. Like, what does this guy have to say? Especially if they have another job outside YouTube. Where like, because I'm also thinking of like Dick Masterson and Carl from Who Are These Podcasts. So like all of these are marketing people who all have marketing jobs that they have made way more money on than their YouTube ventures, And so I look at them like, I need to study everything that you say and do because you actually know how to just like launch something and make it successful on a professional level.
Hi, Shug. Rocket League. How's it going, Doug?
But yeah, I definitely understand not enjoying Finn McKenty's bit, but I guess I like it because I see it as a bit that like he's doing very deliberately. The fact that when he does tier lists, he always says like, one of the considerations is how much I like them. One of the considerations is how influential and popular they are. Like those are the two important deciding factors. And he did like fast food and snacks videos and literally like put McDonald's in S tier because he's like, well, it's undeniable. Like it is the greatest fast food. And I was like, I actually agree. Like I actually do agree that like if we're trying to talk about it from like a sociological standpoint, yeah, it is the ultimate fast food. It does belong in S tier, but I also don't feel like anybody on an emotional level would do that. Like nobody is going to admittedly put McDonald's in S tier except for Finn McKenty, and I wasn't surprised when I saw it. I wasn't the least bit surprised. So I think it's just understanding the bit that helps me to like the bit. Alright, I'm giving too much free rant at this point. I gotta remember that my job is to shut up and make people want to pay me to talk. I'm being jokey about this. I hope everyone appreciates I'm not being serious, but it does kind of feel like that sometimes. Like it will actually benefit me to shut up and wait for super chats to come in or whatever. Only because on one of my recent streams I was saying something like you got a super chat rant request, and somebody said, but there's already like hundreds of hours of you ranting online, and I was like, shit, you're right. Like if you already know I'm gonna talk, why would you pay me to talk? Unless you really were bored by what I was saying, or really wanted me to change the subject, or had something you burningly wanted to talk about. That's the other thing. Like I have to emphasize also, you don't have to have a rant request to make a super chat. You know,
Yeah,
I do think it kind of puts people in a bit of a hot seat mentality of like, oh shit, what am I gonna have to say that's gonna be interesting? That's gonna make Trixie rant, you know? But are you bored of playing Rocket League?
No. I would never say that I was bored of playing Rocket League. Rocket League is a great game.
You just looked over at me and started making tongue gestures, and I'm like, you don't seem like you're interested in this game anymore. We have been going for over 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning.
Holy shit. I fucking woke up at 9, got some stuff done, passed out around 11.
Whoa, I'm about to be up for 24 hours if I really wanted to be.
Do you really want to be?
I don't know. It'll be fun. It's been a while since I've done that.
Hey, we got a couple super chats rolling in. Green with $5 says, loved the lucky... Oh, tomarigato gozaimasu. Loved the Lucky Star video. Rant about my currently watching Hajime no Ippo, Escaflowne, and Haruhi Season 2. Okay. Hajime no Ippo, boxing anime, very long. I've seen like 15 consecutive episodes and some random stuff from later because my friends and my brother are all really into it. I think Victor said one of his dreams is actually to make like a Hajime no Ippo adaptation to live action. Yeah, it's just a great show full of really likable characters, really amazing action animation from Madhouse, a phenomenal soundtrack from the same guy who did the Trigun soundtrack. It's definitely a show to get a bunch of like bros together and like everybody freaks out and goes yeah during the fights and shit. At least that's how it was with my friends all watching it multiple times. So yeah, it's hype. It's one of the better. I'm a big fan of the career sports style show because like most sports anime is high school focused, so or middle school focused, where it'll just go up to like the inner high, and like the entire story is just about these kids on a high school team. Whereas Hajime no Ippo and Baby Steps are both great examples of manga that like start with somebody getting involved in the career and then follow them all the way through the entire their whole life, and I love that style of storytelling, like following somebody through their whole existence. And sports is one of the few places where you can like have a fairly normal person's life story be interesting. Escaflowne is a epic fantasy mecha series from the 90s.
I thought that was like a French snail dish.
And it was a lot of the creative staff that would go on to make Cowboy Bebop not too long afterwards. But it's starts off insanely good. The first half of Escaflowne is just incredibly badass. The animation's incredible. The story is really interesting. And then as the story goes, the rumors go or whatever, it was supposed to have like 39 episodes and end up with 26. So they like kind of cram all this lore and all these plot developments in the like late teen episodes, and it kind of gets messy. I remember liking the ending, though. I think I remember thinking that the ending kind of fixed some of my issues that I was having. But ultimately, I haven't rewatched it. So, like, that's one of those shows, along with Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, where, like, and Kare Kano, where, like, I was just so disappointed that the ball was dropped that, like, like, Kare Kano is a show where when I first watched it, I was like, oh, man, the first 18 episodes are god tier, and then it drops the ball, so I can't give it a 10 out of 10. And then like rewatching it, I'm like, no, those first 18 episodes are too good, and it's not like it ruins the characters after that. It's just less good, So like I feel similarly with like Nadia or Escaflowne, that like they're still worth watching in spite of whatever faltering there might be. And then Haruhi Season 2 I haven't seen yet, actually. I've still never watched it. I will get to it eventually because I'm definitely gonna have to talk about Haruhi one of these days. But and I'd like to show it to Bird, but I don't think you're gonna want to watch the Endless Eight.
Show's just so melancholy.
We did watch the first episode, the proper broadcast first episode, recently, and then we started to watch the second one, but didn't end up continuing.
Right. That is what
Haruhi.
That show is.
Yeah, that's the melancholy of Haruhi.
That show is perplexing.
It is definitely that. Especially if you start it in broadcast order, where it's like...
Well, so we watched the actual first episode and then the broadcast first episode.
We didn't watch the whole first... Like, we only watched, like, a little bit of it. But you were like, oh, show me it in broadcast order, because that sounds like the cooler way to do it. And I was like, all right, but I warn you, not everybody prefers it this way. And then we watched it, and you were like, maybe I wouldn't have preferred it this way. Robot Anon with $5 says, rant about paying... Oh, don't want to get gozaimasu. Rant about paying for a girl's OnlyFans versus paying a pornographic/hentai artist. I mean, is there a huge difference? I don't really think so. You're just paying for a thing you want. Like, I don't know, people get really hung up in their heads about, like, what it means, I guess, to, like, do anything. And I encourage you to not concern yourself so much about that unless whatever you're doing is like heinously immoral or illegal, but giving girls money on OnlyFans is neither of those things, and neither is paying a hentai artist.
It's not heinously illegal, but
it is also not, like, it's just, there's no
I know, I'm just fucking around.
It's just so goofy, like the way that people judge themselves, and I also
do whatever you want. Boobs are cool. Dicks are cool too, I guess.
I'm just thinking,
I prefer boobs.
So personally, like, I'm somebody who is easily satisfied when it comes to,
no
like,
kidding. Ha ha.
God damn. When it comes to, like, finding stuff that I will like on the internet, that, like, I will, like, if I'm trying to look for porn, it doesn't take long. It's not like an epic journey to find something that I would like. I just open Pornhub, go to suggested tab, and find something that looks nice, or go to Gelboru, search animated sex.
Gelboru?
That is the main anime porn image board site that has lots of stuff on it. And so, like, if I go to Gelboru and type animated sex as the tabs, it's just going to be like every WebM and GIF of sex that anyone's drawn recently, and look through that for any animations that are cool, because I mostly like to watch static images take too long, I don't have time, and anything conceptual, again, takes too long. I'm really trying to get in and out, so, like, the thought of actually paying for pornography to me is quite alien, because there's nothing I, like, need so badly that I would pay for it. Like, I can always find something I'm gonna want within, like, 15 seconds.
Porn.
Like, right, it's so fucking much free porn. But I also understand that, porn, everything about sex and porn is psychological. There's way more to it than, like, trying to, just, like, get off. But it's also, like, you get activated. Like, your need to get off can just be activated. Then you're like, all right, I got to do something about this, And so for me, it's usually like, oh, shit, I'm horny. Well, how can I make that stop as soon as possible? Like, let's just find something that's, that's gonna resolve this immediately. And that never takes long. Whereas there's other people who have, I don't know, like, a more complex, nuanced relationship with sexuality, where they're getting something else out of it beyond, like, it's not so clear cut as just, oh shit, I'm horny, let me get a nut real fast or whatever. It's like, like, there's more going on.
The Lord frowns upon those who spill their seed.
Yeah. I don't have a voice of God inside my head, like,
yeah,
I have my voice that is godly to me, that I would listen to as that I respect as a god, but there's, I do think that, like, religious people, like when you hit a certain level of religiosity, you become convinced that, like, your own thoughts are actually God's voice, telling you not to do things, and it's just like, no, this is just you. This is just your hang-ups, I'm just, like, I'm literally glowing about how reasonable of a person I am. I'm just so fucking reasonable.
I'm so reasonable. I'm unreasonable. Hey, after this match, can we wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up soon. If anybody wants anything ranted about, send your super chat rant requests now, because we're wrapping it up. You have to do another match, just, in case anybody sends any super chats, I have to rant over.
Oh, no.
But other than that, we will wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Have I heard of Disco Elysium? Yep, I bought it, and I haven't played it yet.
Disco League.
I bought it in a 2-pack with Control, and I played some of Control, and that was good, but I didn't beat it. That would be a good game to stream, actually. Not Disco Elysium, because that is like all text, but Control, I meant. I want to play it. Seems up my alley. Gelboru is best Boru, I agree. Andrew Engelman says, the only voices of God in my head are rap gods Riley and Dairon. You mean Vizier and Dairon, my friend. The rapper, who is a part of Sucker Punch, is Vizzy Vizier, not Riley. Saying you gotta get it right. But yeah, I appreciate that. They are both, I literally have been hearing the fucking hook to AFK in my head for, like, ever since I first heard it. And the beat. Just the beat and the hook are playing in my head all the time, especially lately. Alright, well, nobody else super chatted anything, so I'm thinking it might be time to call it.
Call what? The pizza place?
If we hadn't had pizza like yesterday, then maybe. I did get my pizza fix. I get intense pizza cravings every once in a while. Like, sometimes I just forget about pizza for a couple weeks. Like,
That's a mistake.
If it's not, like, just because it's not, it doesn't come to you the same way as other stuff. Like, we've been making most of our food at home, and not to say that you make a mean pizza. It's just not something I always
What's
think about.
What's so mean about it? I think they're very nice.
You make a great, nice pizza, I should say.
All right. I don't want to play Hockey League.
Hockey League. Pocky League. Pocky and Rocky with Becky League.
This has been lovely. Thank you.
All right. We're done. My verse on Light Gold is your favorite that you've heard from me. I'm really happy to hear that. I like it a lot. All right, everybody.
Would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, fucking, if you want to hear more of my voice continually, you should listen to the Jittery Zeitgeist Hip Hop Review podcast over on the ASE Presents channel, as well as the new Void Gazers podcast over there. Subscribe to that channel. They got all kinds of fun stuff. Become a fan of Mint Salad, because she's constantly putting out content, if you're not already. And yeah, Sucker Punch, Telegraphing EP on all streaming sites. Stick around on my channel, subscribe if you haven't already, obviously. And we'll see you later, everybody. Bye!